Let's wait for the stage to fill up before we start. All right, this is as good a time as any. Let's start. Good evening and good morning, Unicorn fam. Welcome to the Crypto Unicorns Bi-Weekly Townhall number 31. This is Sparkly Unicorn, but Stealthy Unicorn on tech. Say hi. For those not in the know, town hall events will now happen bi-weekly. That is twice a month instead of weekly. Half of the town hall events will be handled by Aaron as usual, who is amazing at letting us know and visualize the long term of CU. The other half of the town hall events will be handled by members of the internal team who can provide deeper knowledge on specific things such as game design and game economy. In all other aspects, the town hall will be in a similar format as the ones that we have previously held. So this is our 31st town hall event, perfect for closing off February to make way for, dare I say it, jousting month, and coincidentally, the St. Patrick's milestone of our winter event. Let's introduce who we have on stage for today. We have Caticorn, Corbin Laguna, and LG Jeff ready to say hi, share updates, and answer questions.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Katrina, the product director here.
Hey everyone, I'm Corbin. I'm the product manager for Crypto Unicorns.
And I'm Jeff. I'm the design director for Crypto Unicorns.
All right. Thank you so much, Katrina, Corbin, and Jeff. Are you guys ready to spill the tea and spread a hype? Prepare yourself for the updates, Unicorn fam. Okay, what do we have?
All right, let's just dive into it. I think we have a long list of fun updates and some,
oh boy,
dare I say, alpha coming. So we'll start with kind of one that we just recently kicked off. So Delegation had its kind of formal production kickoff. We've done lots of pre-production work, and the blockchain team has been doing a bunch of stuff to get ahead of this. So it's not that no work has been done, it's just more sort of moving into our formal sprint process. And, we've been trying to iterate on how we get work done internally. So this is sort of following a slightly different path than other features have. But so lots of work already been done, but now it's sort of formal. We have a bunch of screenshots that we've, taken the UI that we shared with you guys previously, and it's all kind of getting ready to go into games. So we will actually share those pretty soon, just so you guys can have a reminder of sort of where the delegation feature is and what we're planning for that. Sort of choose which features you'd like your delegate to be able to do within the game, that kind of stuff. So keep an eye out for that. We should also be sharing some of the mock-ups for the onboarding feature, which will be going alongside jousting. That is sort of a very lightweight concept of onboarding, but it's still something that I think will make the early experience much better, and definitely is a feature we want to always be improving on as we add new content, but for now it's sort of a simplified UI kind of sharing you how to play this game. So look out for those two UI shares in the near future. So I'm gonna kind of jump to another thing that we all have been working kind of, the three of us in this group, we have been talking a lot about tribes. And so this is kind of, I got some juicy updates for you guys. So we've been doing, a pre-production, which is, what we have a form of like co-design where product design and we kind of work on the ideas and then bring in engineering and art as kind of early as we can in the process to help them kind of shape and focus the ideas with sort of what technically is feasible and just general ideas from their sides, because we have a lot of really awesome creative people on our team. So bringing them in to improve on our concepts. So we've had a lot of those good conversations, and we're kind of narrowing in on our specifics of what this MVP is. So we've sort of identified our desired MVP. We're working on all of the big flow charts. We have identified a handful of specs that we're going to be writing. So we're working on one-pagers for all of those to kind of better communicate to art and engineering and other teams, what we're thinking, and then we can dig into the details and start estimating. So tribes is coming along. We have, this is very lightweight. A picture of what's going to be built is we have this idea of, the tribe level view. So you have your kind of farm, you're in the actual farm doing stuff, and then you have your kind of zoomed out view with your plots of lands where you can move around, and then there'd be basically one more zoom out, and that's where you would live with all of your tribe mates, with sort of a town hall in the center, and you could have your plots of land moving around, and then there's different ways to have adjacency bonus. I don't want to go into too much detail because those are some of the specifics. We're still working on how exactly these things are going to happen, but obviously we're going to have some incentive to have your lands did next to different players, and of course all the tribe administration and that kind of stuff. And we have a lot of other features, but I don't want to get too much into the weeds as we're sort of in the throes of pre-production. It's sort of at the top of my mind, but again, details aren't formed enough to share too much. But I think the LOD, this like zoomed out view we have is sort of, we all have a shared vision of that now, and that's sort of where we're starting from. So wanted to share that with you guys. It should be, we might even be able to drop a little visual at some point of what we're kind of picturing, so it's easier to see what we're thinking. So that's kind of an update on tribes. It's very exciting. So to move on to another topic we've had, I'm going to hand it to Jeff to talk a little bit about Shadowcorns, and if you have any other updates on tribes, you can also share those.
Yeah, we're developing long-term plans for both tribes and Shadowcorns in tandem with one another. And for Shadowcorns, we're laying out our plans for Act 2 and Act 3 and how they fit in the overall scheme of the game. One thing, one of the things that we're more or less finalized on the design for is the Minions Forge, which we're talking about renaming to Minion Hatchery to better kind of fit the theme of hatching minions and things like that. But taking a step back and thinking about how Shadowcorns fit into the whole crypto unicorns ecosystem, we recognize that it's very hard to require a lot of active gameplay from Shadowcorns just because there's so few of them and so few holders. And if we try to set up unicorns versus Shadowcorns, it's a lot to ask for the few people that hold Shadowcorns. So a lot of the Shadowcorns design, we're going to focus more on passive-oriented gameplay. So in the Minion Forge, aka Hatchery, a couple of things that Shadowcorns can do there is they could passively produce husks over time. So you would stake your Shadowcorn into the hatchery, and it would produce minion husks over time. The quantity and type would be based on your Shadowcorn's stats and rarity and class. But Shadowcorns would be the main source of husks outside of the Shadowcorn loot boxes. In the hatchery, players could also stake Shadowcorns to produce minions with those husks. Again, it's a way for Shadowcorns to earn through the hatchery. And then finally, players will be able to invest into the hatchery to both increase the production and earn bonuses by investing in it. And this will come around the time that Act 2 comes, a little beforehand, just to make sure that there's time to produce husks and minions enough to create enough minions for Act 2. But this is just the first step in our long-term plan for Shadowcorns, and we are still finalizing details for Act 2 and starting to get together Act 3, and so we'll share those later when we have a more concrete idea of what those are going to be. But for now, we're in a good place with the first step of the Shadowcorn roadmap, and I can't wait for you to see the minions. The minion art looks pretty awesome. Our team hit it out of the park again, and we can't wait to show you pictures once we're ready to do so. Let's talk about jousting. Katrina, do you want to give any jousting updates?
Yeah, go for it, and then I'll jump in after.
Okay, so jousting, we've talked about the preseason, and our preseason we expect to launch around mid-March and go until the end of April. It will, within the preseason, we'll be doing at least 2 tuning pushes with balance updates based on both your feedback as well as analytics that we look at as people participate. We're also setting up a structure of weekday and weekend tournaments. Weekday tournaments are going to be more casual, and by participating and getting far in those tournaments, you'll earn weekend tickets, which during the weekend will have more exciting, more lucrative jousting tournaments. And then each weekend we'll have a winners tournament based on the winners of tournaments that will get a special winners ticket. And there we will have a lot more lucrative prizes. And each week we'll have this kind of weekday, weekend structure just to just try and organize it for players and build excitement for those weekend tournaments. Corbin, did you have any other anything else to say about the preseason?
Yeah, so in addition to the preseason tournament, we're also going to continue to run marketing campaigns each week during the preseason, which will focus on user acquisition of communities that have a similar game loop to jousting. The plan there will be to target one community per week to maximize the amount of exposure we can draw to that campaign. So we're going to continue testing that strategy. Our new CMO, Christina, she's been obviously analyzing the results of the past corn drops and continuously working to refine and improve our system. So I'll stop there and let her go into more detail over that in a future AMA.
And in general, so jousting, we're in the kind of last stretches of polish, and the kind of big chunk that we're working on is performance and load testing. We kind of want to make sure we can have all of these jousts running and have it work smoothly. So everything's looking awesome. We're kind of getting in lots of kind of good visual effects to communicate exactly what's happening in the joust, so it's super easy to see, who won, who lost, how it looks in the bracket. So tons of good visual improvements, and then lots of work on the sort of behind the scenes stuff that's making sure it all runs smoothly. So very excited to see it kind of all come all together. And then we're also working on other things in the build, which I will let actually Corbin jump in and talk about again.
Yeah, so with the release of jousting, we're going to have a series of farm UI UX improvements. The most notable of these is going to be the new farm UI, which will obviously give players the ability to favorite their seeds, switch tabs between different types of seeds, and reroll farm bonuses on their farm plot. So the way this will work is through the UI, you'll be able to click a reroll button that will reroll all bonuses pertaining to that farm plot. The cost of that will scale based off of the number of bonuses you have. So if you have 10 bonuses on your farm plot, you're going to pay more to reroll those bonuses than a farm plot with 5 bonuses. We also have the RMP Quick Buy, which this allows players to immediately access the RMP if they don't have enough materials to complete an action. So, example here being, if you're trying to do a best gather with, a moon unicorn, but you don't have enough moonberries, you can click the plus button on the moonberry that will pop the RMP. You can purchase a moonberry bundle. And then once you go back to the gathering cart, you'll be immediately able to kick off the best gather. We have improved sorts and filters, so we'll now be able to sort and filter by mythic parts, scores, and stats. So this will be great for, obviously, the mythic bonuses in the farm loop, Shadowcorn quest, and ultimately jousting. Next, we're going to be increasing the base unicorn capacity from 3 to 5. This is to allow players that are sole jousters to be able to participate in 5 jousting tournaments. At the same time, if they want to participate in further, they will need to get a land plot with a stable built on it to do so. Then we have smart energy sorting. So this is, I select a recipe that requires 7 energy to complete. It's going to show me, when I go to select a unicorn, it's going to show me the unicorns that are eligible to craft that, so that have 7 energy. And next, it's going to show me the unicorns that are potentially eligible but don't have enough energy currently, but their max energy is high enough to craft that item. And then lastly, it's going to display the ineligible corns, so the corns that don't have enough energy to craft that item. And then the last thing we want to highlight is the farm mythic bonuses, and I'll let Jeff go into more detail over that.
Yeah, as following the mythic bonuses we gave to gathering, we've developed mythic bonuses for farming. Basically, what the bonus does is when you use a mythic for farming, we take the range of berries that you could produce and then add an additional range on top of that based on the quality of your mythic. So a single mythic will add 1 to 10 berries. A double mythic would add 3 to 30 additional berries. It goes all the way up. So, if we ever do get a legendary mythic, a 6/6, that could be an additional 21 to 210 berries for farming, as it should be for such a high mythic. But so, yeah, the bonus increases based on the type of mythic you have, but even a single mythic will get more berries when used for farming. Future plans that will come in the future release for mythic utility will be crafting recipes that can only be crafted using mythic unicorns, and in jousting, mythic unicorns will also get a bonus to their scores. So, as we've been saying all along, we are looking to add utility to mythic unicorns, as we do want them to be very valuable in our ecosystem. So just be on the lookout in future updates for more mythic utility being added.
So the next thing we wanted to cover is today's tuning release. It'll go out this afternoon, and it's going to aim to continue to reduce the quest RBW emission by placing higher emphasis on quest board level. We're also going to be implementing bulk crafting recipes for generic materials and seed bags. And lastly, we're going to be implementing the tuning needed for the St. Patrick's Day milestone event. So unlike the past milestones, the St. Patrick's Day milestone is going to possess a bulk recipe and event for those who prefer longer timers. So instead of the hour timers, we'll have obviously the 8-hour option. In addition to that, the St. Patrick's Day milestone events will be based in the Shadowcorn format, so there will be a certain level of risk and reward with this event. Important to note that the actual events for the St. Patrick's Day milestone won't be available until the 1st of March, but players will be able to go ahead and get a head start on obtaining clover seeds, harvesting shamrocks, and crafting golden buckles. So for more information over what's coming in today's release, please refer to the Game Updates channel. Sparkly put together a great What's New in CU article for that. The next update is for Staking V2. So as we mentioned last week, Staking V2 has been delayed due to an issue that Vault located with one of the new V2 functions. Vault has since resolved the issue, but obviously we wanted to be safe and respect their request to delay until March so that they could have time to run additional test cases, which started off with 10. I think they're well above 70 or 80 now, and allow PeckShield and OtterSec to perform a re-audit on that. So I met with them this morning, and everything is still on track for that. So we are on target to meet the release dates of badge delegation period and website launch opens March 23rd. The staking rewards enabled to the new contract and the snapshot of migration is shared with the community on March 27th. Then on March 30th, we'll roll into the actual staking V1 deposit migration. Once that's complete, we'll deactivate the front end for staking V1 and we'll be fully transitioned over to staking V2. So if you haven't seen it yet, the document Anessa put together over the incident and response plan gives a lot more detail, but obviously happy to answer any further questions if needed.
Thanks, Corbin and Jeff, for all those updates. The kind of last thing I was going to touch on today is sort of the website side of things. So, we have work being done there. Our team is currently not only they're supporting primarily the second party game. I know we'll probably have a town hall in the future here with a bit more of the second party updates, but in general, there's kind of the game bank and the things that we're doing to support that are all in progress and moving along smoothly. But one of the other big things that we're working on, and we're doing wireframes and kind of looking into how to redesign our app.cu page. So, in the context of having new users come and different people from different places arriving to that website for various different reasons, whether it's to get a claim from a corn drop or check your status on the leaderboard or, just, kind of look to see what's going on. We're trying to rethink how to design that to kind of give those different player personas different sets of information that are valuable. So we're going to try and surface the info that you want to see a little bit more in front so you can kind of see it quickly, so you can see your leaderboards right away, that kind of stuff. And then just reimagine it to have kind of a more welcoming space so that if you are new, you kind of don't get dropped into sort of this area of the game that doesn't have a lot of context. So I'm kind of excited to see how that all comes together. We're, a couple of us are all working on mock-ups and wireframes and ideating on the various ways that we could redesign it, but I think it's going to make it a lot more fun. And it's also starting to imagine how we want to structure this going forward for, having a lot of the Shadowcorn content accessible in that area. So, as we talked about before, the Shadowcorns are going to be, a lot of it on the website side. These are going to be, games in the Dark Forest. And, as we expand and have the Minion Hatchery and Act 2 and Act 3 content there, where does it live and how does it look? So, lots of ideas kind of going into it, trying to plan a little bit for the future, but at least get a V1 out the door soon that we can, feel confident is a little bit more welcoming to all the new players coming in and checking out the Crypto Unicorns universe. So I think that is all our updates, Berkeley. We had a lot today.
Man, that was a lot. Oh, and with that, a big Discord update. Discord stages are now equipped with camera and screen share functions. While we don't have anything for that today, this does mean that we might just pop in one day with a big old presentation for y'all. You never know. Okay, that was a lot to digest, but let's get this town hall started. So we have a 3 questions per person rule. If a question has been answered previously, you'll have to ask something else. Any questions related specifically to your account or a Zendesk issue, please reach out to us on the mod support channel so the CM team can take care of it for you. There are also questions that are better answered by other specialists in Team LG. So we might have to get back to your question at the end of the town hall if that's the case. Don't worry, I'll make sure they all get addressed. To ask a question in voice, please press the request to speak button. The button looks like a raised hand. You can queue up at any time, and once you accept your request, you'll see a green bar at the top of your Discord. Click accept to begin speaking. We also have written questions. It's on the Town Hall Bulletin Forum channel, on the Town Hall 31 thread. Take note that we prioritize spoken questions over written ones. You can also head on stage and ask any question that you may find there. But first up are the anonymous questions. We accept a maximum of 5 anonymous questions per town hall, and I got all 5, so there is no use asking more anonymous questions, team. You can just go ahead and put your questions in the regular thread, and we will get to them too. Okay, first we have a very excited anonymous person asking, when is the mob rub? I think it's the mob run, and bumper corns. They look amazing! This is a second party update. And we don't really have our second party person here, but do you guys have something to say?
I don't want to misquote, so I'm not going to give exact dates, but I know we're kind of shaping up the plan pretty concretely. So I think I was hoping to have Rice in here today, but we'll get her to join or update in the channels near future. But it's coming. We've been doing play tests. We've been having a lot of fun playing bumper corns in the office. You know, Jeff has won a lot, but
It's so fun. I can't wait till this comes out.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a good, a very entertaining little game to play, I must say. So we'll get updates for you guys on the timing.
All right, thank you so much. So this just in chat, LG Jeff is a capital G gamer, and he's excited for it to be out so he can crush us. Okay, next up we have, okay, this is a long one. LG team is using 2.8 million per quarter to dev game, but hasn't released Jousting yet. I suggested if Jousting was already released and RBW would have pumped organically. Furthermore, it's in the interest of the DAO. Can we please delay emissions reduction until after Okay, this is a forum question. The user was asking about the timing of emissions reduction. This is connected to our emissions reduction proposal on the forums. That is on forum.cryptounicorns.fun. So please, any other forum discussion should be continued there. Next up, while I love the revolutionary aspect of the RMP, I don't get much fun from the form sim. I'm in this project for the games, yes, and everything is speculative. However, we're struggling to attract new users for the farm sim, and that says something to support my speculation that game releases should be more successful in driving RBW. This is another RBW emissions question. So please, the person who asked this question, move it over to the forums. We will give you a reply there. But this, this platform is just not the best place for this. But yeah, no problem. We're going to address your question there. Okay, next up. Ooh, an econ question. Okay, I thought Unim was the lifeblood of the game, and the team would monitor it and use levers to make it sustainable. But recently, a lot of Unim sources were added, such as Mythic Corn Buff in Gathering and a ton of Unim in Winter Loot Boxes, while the QE decreased over time and the primary Unim sync, such as breeding, has not been changed. Unim downfall also brings down the unicorn prices with it. All the spots were recently about saving RBW, but is there any plan to save Unim?
I think they're not mutually exclusive. Yes, anytime we add more utility like we did with Mythic Gathering, it's going to take time to counteract kind of that addition of Unim into the economy. And already between that release in January and today, we have offset some of that additional sourcing with increased sinks in both crafting and breeding. Sinks from breeding is up about almost 50% since that update. And crafting has seen an increase about 30% more Unim sunk. you know, the ability for us to control the economy is not, can we get rid of the increased source in one day? It's about over time, can we move that direction? And we are confident that as more features come out, we're going to have the ability to do so. Loot boxes, it's a fine line to try and make them valuable without flooding Unum into the market, and as more features come online, especially features like tribes, which will have their own item economy and other things, we could rely less on Unum to make a loot box valuable and instead rely on these other items within the ecosystem. So, over time, we're definitely going to look at continuing to add Unum syncs and sync more Unum than we're giving out. But it will take some time for us to do that. But that is not exclusive of our abilities or our efforts to help RBW prices. The increase in crafting actually came about because we removed RMP items from quests. Since players aren't getting those items from quests anymore, they have to go back to crafting, and that's partially explains why we've seen an uptick in crafting and Unum sunk through crafting. So we do want to boost the value of both RBW and Unum, and sometimes the ways will overlap, like it did with shifting rewards from quests to crafting, but other times it won't, and we just will have to do our best to try and address both RBW and Unum.
All right, you got your question, Mr. Anonymous Unum Man. Next up. All right, we have somebody asking, I created my own spreadsheet to compute for everything, crafting, farming, questing, breeding, and even my OS/Haku transactions. Dang. We are now doing a lot of tasks in CU, and with a lot of ongoing issues on MetaMask transactions, it's getting a little irritating to do simple tasks repetitively. I just want to ask, when are we going to start the QOL on farming, as I'm starting to regret expanding to 16 lands with multiple accounts?
Well, in this next build, we will have that farming UI UX we sent out before, which hopefully makes it a little bit easier to find your seeds, and has the ability to favorite seeds, and so that'll speed things up. And we kind of have the list of farming quality of life. We try and always fold in tasks as we can with sort of the big features. So we're always kind of improving it. There's certainly a limit of what we want to do in terms of making the farming game into purely a spreadsheet simulator kind of thing. So, we still want to make sure it's an experience that is sort of kind of game-like and fun. But, we do regularly look at all of the suggestions channel, and we kind of have a list in our backlog that are many things from there. So if you have specific features or requests that you think would make your farming experience better, I would say please put it there. We pay attention mostly to the ones that have lots of upvotes, but we try and also just kind of scroll through and see if there's any ideas that we kind of just want to pull in because they're in line with something we're already thinking or whatnot. But that's sort of the funnel we have, is the suggestion channels get summarized and organized, and then we prioritize them into the backlog, and then as we build out our sprint plans and we see which team members are available, we try and pull them in as kind of continuously as we go. But the one big update to the UI will be coming alongside this jousting build.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Katrina. And for people who are also curious about the UI UX updates, we do regularly post on the polls of the polls channel. Yeah, we usually have something there for like letting you guys vote on like which one you like more or asking for your opinion. So don't be afraid to check that out. Okay, next up we have, would there be a limit for a unicorn to join a bracket in jousting? Because if there is none, then I'm afraid others might just buy one ultra good stats unicorn and spam theirs for the whole day.
So you can only have one unicorn per bracket, per joust. So yeah, once you start to get more, it gets a little bit awkward for a variety of reasons. But yeah, so we've limited it to you can contribute one unicorn to each joust bracket tournament. Maybe the right word. So it is limited.
And that unicorn, once in that tournament, will be locked away for a period of time, so you wouldn't be able to use them in another tournament until you get that unicorn back.
Yeah, it's just like a lease. So, once you put it in there, it's leased until the tournament is complete, and then you can claim your rewards and the lease, but and then move that unicorn to another one. Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
And on top of that, we also have the ability to gate entry to tournaments based off of class and stats as well.
Okay, so we have a follow up here. This is not what he or she means. They mean the maximum stats allowed in a joust.
We don't have a limit on the maximum stats allowed in a joust. I think technically we might be able to do that, but we don't have plans on doing that. We kind of have plans to have, ones for higher tiers. But, I imagine that we have kind of a spread of reward breakdowns of how much, the rewards go to just the top couple winners to a little bit further down, and, how they're distributed. So I think players are going to want to, send their best unicorns to different places, or to the the higher, where the rewards are highest at the top end. But at the same time, the way we've done the design of the actual kind of algorithm behind the scenes definitely has some elements of luck. There is kind of an underdog element where you can still win. It's definitely harder to win against a really high stat unicorn, but we did want to leave room for that to make sure it kind of wasn't sort of extremely obvious who would win every single time, but had a little bit of room for surprise and unknown, and yeah, again, that underdog kind of feel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of our goals in balancing was to ensure that it's impossible to win every single time, and there's always a chance that no matter what your score is, you have, however small, a chance of winning. But the scores definitely will be the higher your score dominance, the more likely it is that you are going to do better.
All right. Okay, and then we have the final anonymous question. Do we now have an assurance that the next leaderboard would come from jousting, or we would get another winter-like event aside from focusing on jousting?
Yeah, so there's going to be two Q2 leaderboards. So we'll have one for the spring event, which will be event focused around the farm, and then we'll have a leaderboard for the Grand Jousting Tournament, which will closely follow the preseason event end.
All right. Okay, so there's further nuance to that question about jousting, but I believe this needs to be adjusted a bit more. So we will discuss this, and we'll get back to you after the town hall. Okay, now that the anonymous questions are done, let's take care of the other questions. We have NFT Gibby coming up on stage. Say hi.
Hey y'all, how you doing this morning?
Hey, we're doing fantastic.
Thanks for having me up. Question in regards to the Shadowcorn quest board roll chances. So is there a way that we can get a visual of what that role actually is? And also kind of what's the sauce behind how that's determined? It seems like I've sent my fair share of 90+% quests that have failed, so I'm curious how that's determined.
Um, it should be that based on what the stats that you bring in proportionally versus the total stats that's required, that difference is the chance of failure. So, if your stats are about 90% of what the total is, you should have a 90% chance of succeeding. Um, I think adding a visual element to what the role actually is something we may want to explore if there's a lot of confusion on that part. But it should just be based on just that weight between what your stats are and what the total required is as your chance of winning. But if it we could look into it and see if there's any issues with the chances, but uh, I have not heard that there are, but we'll look into it.
Yeah, it's less of curious how it works and more of, okay, I failed. What did I actually roll? Did I roll 94 when I needed to hit 95, or did I roll a 4 when I needed to hit a 5 sort of thing? That's more of my curiosity, and it would be nice to have a visual of that.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I actually saw your comment earlier and was planning to write down a brief spec over how something like that would work, because I do think that would be a neat implementation.
Awesome. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
You too. All right. Thank you so much. Next up, we have the truth. Please come on over to the stage.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you guys for hosting today, and been really loving all the changes and kind of new metas and stuff. It's fun to kind of figure that out. I had a question about mobile. I hadn't seen anything on kind of the roadmap for potential of getting this game working on different OSs for mobile. Just curious if there are. I'm sure there are talks about it, but is that kind of like a huge undertaking, or I guess what's on the roadmap for it?
Yeah, so it does. We talk about this kind of off and on. It's still, the app stores do not make it friendly or easy, so it's sort of a kind of uphill battle just purely on that front. I don't even think we could get approved on iOS even at this point. And it's kind of a toss-up probably on Android. So, we do have the game built in Unity, so it would be a possibility to port it, and it's definitely a non-trivial amount of work. So currently it doesn't have a concrete place in our roadmap because it's kind of unclear to us when it will really make sense on the app stores, but it's something that we kind of come around and check in with ourselves and see, like, is this something. But I think at this point it's hard to know when it's going to be worth the effort, because it is quite a bit of work to kind of get that all prepared. So I wish the app stores were a little bit more friendly to crypto and NFT projects, but until they kind of shift their attitude, I think it's going to be hard to justify the cost.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the info. Have you guys seen of any other projects or anything like that that have been capable of breaking through, or at the moment kind of just going by what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I haven't really seen any. I think there are different projects that are trying, but not at the moment. I can't think of. I'm sure there's people who are still working on it.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you so much. The truth. The boss has something to add on that current topic. He says the game doesn't need to be on the App Store. If it's a downloadable app for mobile, that is enough. So that's what they think about it.
Yeah, I mean, you could, but then, we kind of lose out on all of the marketing potential. And so that would be, very much for just the people who already are in the ecosystem and are already in the game. So while that would be possible, that is still a huge lift to make that work for kind of the group here. And the game, it's not fully supported on all the mobile devices, but I know it kind of works to some degree. So, as our community grows and we get more users, I think we will definitely be listening to see what the demand is across our player base. And, if it hits a critical point, we will absolutely talk about it and review it as that kind of decision comes to us. But for now, it's again, we will keep kind of checking in and talking about it at a regular cadence and evaluating if we think it's worthwhile, and then we'll be listening to our players as we grow and see what is desired from everyone.
All right, good answer. Okay, so just a quick time check. We have 14 minutes left and we have 2 more speakers. There is a good chance that not all of the written questions will be asked on this town hall, but we will make sure to answer them for you afterwards. Okay, next up we have SW Morton 19. Come on over to the stage, please.
Hey guys, I just have one question. I just wanted to get your unfiltered opinions on building on Polygon.
I mean, I'm glad we're on Polygon and not on many other platforms. I mean, every new, like all of the crypto world is fairly new, and there's different bumps and barriers. But I think overall they've been a good partner, and we've done, been fairly happy. I know there's various outages, but that's always going to happen on all of the different platforms. So. Having talked to other people on different platforms, I think we made a very solid choice. Corbin or Jeff have a comment. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm adding to that. Yesterday's issue was a bit weird. But every chain has their own faults. I remember my first time on Arbitrum was the day that they had the full day shutdown on their blockchain, right? So that was a bad experience initially. They worked it out, and they've been operating good since. Polygon's still my favorite. I just think that they've marketed it very well, and there's a lot of good projects migrating to this space. So as long as they continue to build and improve, we should be in a really good spot with Polygon.
Yeah, I generally agree. I don't have anything else to add to that, but compared with stories I've heard from others, I think we made the right choice.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I think it's kind of cool to get your perspective personally. So thanks for sharing.
Definitely.
Anytime. Okay, next up we have NFT Jimmy back at it again. Hey, welcome back.
Hey.
We missed
Just a quick follow-up on the mobile piece. How are the second-party games going to handle mobile? I know from all the previews, I assumed they were all mobile just based on the controls and the operation, but how is that going to work?
Yeah, again, this is where I know there's ongoing conversations about all of this, and I don't want to misquote. There is definitely mobile. We've been playing on mobile versions of the build, so they are mobile, and you can play on web as well. And they all, at least the ones we've played, are all cross-platform as well. So you can kind of choose your platform. And I think they have a rollout plan. These ones, there is kind of a free-to-play path, and you don't have to totally connect, and so they're a little bit easier to pass muster on the stores because it's not like first step log into a wallet, right? So we'll get a bigger update on second party on that to reconfirm which platforms and whatnot, but there's definitely mobile builds.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Have a wonderful day again.
Yeah. Thanks, you too.
Have a wonderful day. Times 2. Okay, thank you so much, NFT Gibby. Okay, next up we have a lot of written questions. Let's start from the start. We have Baz here who wants to bring attention to one of the comments made by a new user, Clear Blue. So Baz says, Clear Blue has a very good post about entering the game as a newcomer and the initial reactions from someone who hasn't played the game before over its suggestions. I would love if you could break down your thoughts around these points and how you would approach each of them moving forward. Okay, so here's the comment. It's actually pretty funny because we've addressed a lot of this in today's town hall. So the first one is there is no guidance in the game when you join on what to do. It pulls you out of the game to have to go to a website to learn what to do. We do have a tutorial system or an onboarding system that we're working on. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just same thing as you said. Yeah, that is definitely something we knew we needed to improve. You know, kind of being dropped in a empty void is not the most new user friendly. So yeah, we will have a kind of the it's sort of a first thing that you see is sort of choose your adventure. Do you want to go directly to joust? Do you want to go directly to farm? Kind of a quick explainer of you need unicorns for jousting, unicorns and land for farming, and then once you choose that, you get dropped into one of the different scenes. And then from there, we have sort of basic explainers of, hey, you need to go lock in your assets. Here's the buttons you need to click and the tabs you need to go to and what you should do. And then once you get all of that in, we have a few other pop-ups. So it's a kind of a guided tutorial, but it's at the same time, you still are the one in control. It's not one of the super forced, you have to click and click and click because we don't, know which assets people have until they've locked. I mean, we kind of do, but it's harder to build that kind of tutorial in the system and takes way longer. So well, those screenshots should hopefully come up soon, and then we, one of the things we're trying to get some questions out to make sure that the wording and the things that we're saying and sort of the images are kind of the best we can use to communicate. So we will definitely appreciate feedback on sort of the specifics of those tutorial beats.
All right. Okay, team. Chat, keep an eye out for sneak peeks of that onboarding UI soon, TM, maybe this Friday. Or today. Next up, there is complete lack of interactive gameplay. It's currently in a set it and forget it setup. It's not engaging and encourages people to walk away.
Yeah, we've had this group here in the call. We've talked about this a lot. So one of the things we're talking about is an addition to quests. This won't totally solve that particular issue, but this will, having storyline quests and a couple other quest types to be able to provide early players a little bit more stuff to do. And I'm also, as we grow our game, there will be more things to do. So jousting is one that, you'll be able to join a joust, and it's hard to say how long exactly it's going to take for each joust to start because it will be dependent on how many people are playing at any one time. But hopefully we have a pretty good cadence where you join a joust and not a joust, and not too long later you will be able to watch it. And so hopefully that's a little bit more of a quick turnaround. And then we have talked about different ways we can change the early experience or improve it. This has been a big topic of just onboarding in general for us and how we make it a little bit better, because there is some challenge there, especially if you're just starting with like 2 unicorns in one land. It is a bit slow. We have ideas. Some of them are challenging to execute on, and then there's some that are easier but don't kind of complete the whole picture. So we're trying to figure out the best path, but we do have some plans to make it a little bit more engaging. And then once we have tribes and other things, that'll really quickly up the number of things you can go do. If you look at your, click into your friends' lands and see their plots going, maybe click their poops and clean them up for your friends and that kind of stuff. And so as we grow, it'll also improve.
Aw, it's so cute. Yeah, and as Aaron reminds us, Team RPG, Unicorn Party, Rainbow Rumble, all of those are active. So be on the lookout, guys. Okay, next up we have the marketplace is not really intuitive, but it is simple.
The
And-
RMP marketplace.
Yeah. I think, I mean, a lot of this has already been brought up by you guys, so I'm just going to summarize it really shortly. So for the marketplace, we are going, the team has talked about the quick buy options and improving the marketplace experience, the RMP experience. Next up, planting should have a cancel button. Really annoying when you accidentally hit start farming without selecting a unicorn first. Too easy to be put in a long penalty box without a way out.
I hope that the new UI layout will help minimize this, because it'll sort of be, step 1, choose seeds. Step 2, very obviously pick unicorn. So that one is a much harder to implement feature than you might think. So I don't have a good answer for that, but hopefully the UI changes make it just easier to not forget that.
Okay. Next up, no idea how to join a neighborhood or connect with other people from within the game. There appears to be 0 community features in the game. And you're right for now, but we are going to have the tribes soon, so don't worry about that. Next up, the events are asking for items and ingredients that I have no idea how I would get, so I can't participate. Please consider checking our events bulletin, where we have detailed how you can get these items and how to use them, so that you can participate in the event. Next up, 2 weeks in, and I still have 0 clue on how to earn RBW or Unim in the game. Literally can't figure it out in game. It's clearly necessary for doing in-game functions, but no understanding on how to actually get any. So basically, we are working on getting more nuance into the game, such as the onboarding. But for now, we do have a lot of excellent community members who have created lots of guides and a lot of videos on YouTube. They are amazing, and their guides are very clear, easy to follow, and I would suggest that you give that a look for now. Thank you so much. Okay, next up, we have another question from Bahis. A lot of emphasis when talking about quests have been about how it's possible to play or to adjust every 2 weeks. Why don't we see stat requirements for Shadow Corn quests being rotated? Is it technically difficult, or is there some other reason for not rotating requirements? At least the stat requirements for Shadow Corn quests should be possible to rotate without being there any fear of messing up the balance of the economy.
No, it's pretty easy to do on our end. It's just one of those things that gets lost as we try to juggle a lot of things. But between concerns about which stats are being required, as well as keeping things fresh, it's something that we can do occasionally going forward. Maybe not every 2 weeks, but maybe every couple of releases we'll shake up the Shadowcorn stat metagame and try to keep that fresh.
All right. Okay, and last question from Bahiz. Is specialization still a thing? It's been talked about for ages, but it feels like we're moving further and further away from specialization being a viable way forward.
We are definitely talking about this. I think that's kind of at the crux of sort of these bigger picture of how do tribes and shadowcorns and everything fit together, and why are you in a tribe, and what are you providing that's different from the other members, and what do tribes provide that are different from each other. So we don't have a lot of details to share right now on the specifics, but definitely know that is a big part of how we're kind of thinking of the long-term picture of this game. And I definitely think it's going to be a kind of a fundamental part going forward, and that having different ways to specialize will become a key part. But we'll hopefully, I think, once we have that sort of the longer term roadmap, that probably will kind of reveal some of that. So keep an eye out for. We're going to try and have a medium post in the next, I don't know, in the near-ish future, as once we kind of detail out everything as a group, share it with you guys, and that'll have some info on all of that.
All right. Okay, and we do have a couple more questions here, but We just reached our time for the town hall. We'll just make sure to reply to your questions via chat. But that's the last question for now. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for showing up to the town hall. So, any questions in the town hall thread will be answered later on. Do we have any closing remarks for the rest of the team? You guys want to say anything?
Thanks again, everyone, for the questions and the conversation, and thanks, Sparkly, for hosting, as always.
Always. Okay, thank you so much. We gotta do the thing now. We gotta say ooh woo.
Ooh woo.
Ooh.
What's your favorite ooh woo chat? Vote now! That concludes our Bi-Weekly Town Hall number 31. We will see you next week for Bi-Weekly Town Hall number 32 with CEO and co-founder Aaron Bierschmidt. We appreciate your insights from the previous update and look forward to internalizing all of your responses on the current game updates thread. Keep them coming. We'll post a recording of this town hall on our socials if you would like to give it a re-listen. Don't forget to share this with your friends and fellow Unicorn fam who couldn't make it. And if you have more burning questions, feel free to reach out on our support channels, the Mod Support channel and the Ask the Devs channel. This has been the Algae Internal Team's Town Hall hosted by Sparkly Unicorn and with Stealthy Unicorn on tech. Good morning, good night, and see you in-game on Discord and in the forums, Unicorn fam. Bye!